If you stepped away from your firm for 30 days, what would happen? Would all hell break out? Would it be sheer chaos? Would your team know what to do without you? Would the firm actually run or would it fail? Keep it a buck. I want you to be honest with yourself. What would happen if you stepped away for 30 days? Have you thought about that? That is what we're talking about in today's episode. And you're going to walk away with knowing why I can't walk away from my firm for 30 days to vacation, to relax, to restore, to do whatever it is that you want to do. And what parts of your firm is keeping you tethered and tied to the firm and keeping you chained to the firm. That's what I want you to think of it as, a chain. We love it. We love that we have our own firm. But when you're chained to it, that means that you cannot make personal decisions without thinking about the firm. So we're going to talk about that. You're going to know what areas of your practice are keeping you chained and what to do about it. This is the Attorney CheatCode Podcast. My name is Alicia Jones. And if this is your first time here, then welcome. And of course, if you've been with me before, thank you and welcome back. This is where we talk about not just owning firms for the sake of owning firms, but we're talking about building profitable firms built around our lives versus the other way around. Because we want to have a firm that is supportive of the life that we want to build, the life that we want to live outside of the firm. So make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can be notified of future episodes. Let's dive in. So what you're saying without saying is, you know what? I can't leave. I can't take a vacation, and I need to be there so that I can make sure that things are running smoothly. And you might think that that's noble, but it is not. What is an indication of is actually fragility in your firm. When you think about that and you're saying, okay, I want to be able to vacation. I want to be able to enjoy the life that the firm affords me, but I can't really step away like that. Or if I step away, I need to make sure I have my laptop and my work phone because I need to make sure that they can contact me and ask me questions and talk to me and get clarification on things because what, right? That means that there is some structure issue that you are dealing with your firm. And it's important to identify yes, I believe that things are good. However, I can't vacation. I cannot step away. And then if you think about it, if your vacation equals firm vacation, then that's an issue. That means that if you step away, that the firm does not operate, the firm does not function, then you have a job that you're paying rent probably for, that you're paying staff, but it's a job. It is not a business that you own. It's not an ecosystem that you're building to maintain itself, to run on its own. And not saying that you have to completely step away, but what I am saying is that you have to, if you're building a firm, and if you're here with the Attorney Cheat Code, we are talking about fast tracking our way to profitable firm ownership to create the life and the firm of our dreams. Not so that we can be working in the firm 60, 70, 80 hours a week, not so that we can be missing out on our children growing up and on dance recitals and not being able to volunteer because you have so much time devoted to the firm. And marriage is failing, God forbid, because you are married to your firm, your job, versus being able to devote time to your spouse. That is not what we're doing here with the Attorney Cheat Code. So I am going under the assumption that you want to live a good life and have a wonderful firm, and a firm that can run on its own for at least 30 days without you. That does not mean that you're not essential. That means that you have put a good structure in place, that you've put good systems in place to allow your firm to run, and they can know how to answer questions without you. They can know how to figure things out without you having to have your hands in everything. So I want you to really think about your firm. Be honest with yourself. Ask yourself, if I take a vacation, does the firm also take a vacation? And if you are just starting out and you say, I don't even have staff, so should I be taking a vacation? Absolutely. Get in the rhythm of taking vacation. Maybe you don't need 30 right now because you're in the building phase. Understand the phase that you're in. So maybe you're like, okay, I don't need a 30-day. I don't need that type of rejuvenation just yet. Take a week. Take a couple weeks so that you're getting into the practice of taking time to step away. And then what that does psychologically, it forces you to think about what needs to be in place for me to be able to step away and not have to worry about what's going on at the office. There is a different level of peace when you are at the place that you can say, I am leaving and I will be back on the 25th, I will be back on the 15th, I will be back on the 7th, whatever date, and call me if it's burning down. That's when you contact me. When the fire starts to rise to the ceiling, get as many files as you can and give me a call. Otherwise, not just figure it out, because that will leave your team feeling feeling fragile. Like we said earlier, they won't feel empowered. They will feel left. They will feel abandoned. So I'm not saying that. Train them. Think about that. And like I said, even if you're just starting out and you don't have staff, when you step away for a week, you got to think, okay, are my phones still ringing? If I'm gone, who's answering my phones? Who's processing payments? Who is making sure work is still continuing? This is why staff is essential. And that's why we talked about that on a different episode. So check for the link for that. However, whether you have 0 staff or 50 staff members, you need to be able to step away from your firm and for the firm to continue to run without you. So I hear you. You're like, okay, so how do I fix it? What does this mean? And really, to assess that, we have to assess the 3 layers of our firm: the financial layer, which is clear. That should be clear to you, the operational layer, and then the decision layer. When we're thinking about each of these layers of our firm, and I'm saying layer, I sound real Texas right now, Layer, each layer of our firm, then we have to think about, is it structurally sound? Is it weak? Is it fragile? Or have I put some good systems in place to ensure that that particular structure can stand without me, that decisions can be made in this particular structure without me, that I've defined when you need my authority and when you can execute without me for each of the layers. So the first layer is the financial one. So when we're thinking of our finances on the firm, the first thing is, do you know your numbers? Do you? Again, I don't care if you're just starting. Do you know your numbers? What is your goal, your revenue goal for the year? What is your profit goal? How much do you intend to put in savings? Do you have some tax money set aside? Do you have operational expenses with a little cushion? Because maybe it takes you $1,500 to run your firm each month. Do you have cushion that you're putting to the side so that if a slow month comes, because we know as entrepreneurs that the months go up and down. So if and when that slow month comes, you have some cushion to pull from so that operations are not interrupted. So software is still covered. The payment of overhead and expenses and all of those things are still covered. Taxes. We don't play with Uncle Sam. He does not play with us. So if you're not setting aside money for taxes from whether it's the monthly revenue, the weekly, the daily, whatever, if you are not setting aside money for taxes, if you're not allocating a percentage of the income for the firm to taxes, and you get hit with a tax bill at the end of the year of $24,000, $50,000, $100,000, what are you going to do other than be stressed out? And then you're really going to feel like you can't take 30 days off because you need to go pay Uncle Sam. So instead of waiting for that to happen, plan for it. Just set aside 10%. 15% of whatever comes into the firm that is automatically moved to a tax account that does not get touched until I talk to my CPA and they let me know how much do I need to pay, if anything, and you cut the check and you move on. And the remainder of that, maybe that rolls over to the next year, maybe that rolls over into your profit account. And now let's say you set aside $50,000 in taxes for the year because you just wanted to be sure that was your 10, 15% of your income, right? You have that $50,000 sitting in that account. Your CPA does what they do because they're good at what they do. And they come back and they say, oh, well, your tax bill is about $5,000. Say less. Say less. Here's that 5. I'm going to keep another 5 in here. And now I have some change, another 40,000 that I can move to my profit account. Or maybe I'm going to move 20 to profit and 20 to my savings. Now I can bonus out my team from my profit account. Now, if it's just me and my firm, I can bonus me out from my profit account. I'm not taking from the operations. I'm not taking from the taxes. I'm not taking from the savings. This is purely profit for me. Again, we are here with the Attorney Cheat Code to build profitable law firms that will be built around our lives and what we want to do and the experiences that we want to have, the exposure that we want for our family and our children, our loved ones and our friends that is what we're here for. Not to have our heads down working 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 hours in our firm each week because we feel like nobody else can do it. That is a structurally weak firm. So when you're thinking about your finances, you have to know your numbers. What does payroll look like for you? What does operations look like for you? The taxes, the savings, all of those things. And one of the books that I love to reference and one of the books that has really changed the way I do my firm is Profit First. If you have not picked it up, I would suggest that you do that. I'll make sure to have a link so that you can find it easily. Audio book, physical book, whatever. It's one of the ones that you have those books that you read like a couple times a year or once a year. That is one of those books that you're going to want to revisit. So you might want to invest in actually having the physical book. Nonetheless, and I'm not paid for that just yet. So when we think about our finances, you have to know your numbers. That moves us into number 2, which is our operations. What does operations look like? What does a win look like for your team from every position? For your administrative staff, do they understand what good is? Do they understand what your expectations are? Do they understand how to solve problems based upon your rubric? If X, then Y. If this happens, then this is what I expect you to do. If this type of phone call comes in, then this is how you triage that. Are you still the one that is handling all the operations? Are there any standard operating procedures, SOPs? Are there any SOPs that are not just in your mind, but codified in writing? You have to have things in writing for people because that's going to help them be successful. And when they're successful, the firm is successful, you are successful. And now you can take that trip to Bali and not have a work phone and not come back with the fear of, oh my God, what am I walking into? What did I leave? What's about to happen? Nobody called me, or I didn't take my phone so they couldn't call me. Are people still there? Does the firm still exist? And I hear you. That is the fear that we have plaguing us. We're like, okay, if I step away, what is the worst that could happen? And that is what we focus on versus what's the good that can happen? What can happen? How can I make sure that my team has the tools they need operationally to figure things out, to resolve issues? Because issues come, but you don't have to be the one to resolve all the issues. One of the things that's super important as a leader is to ensure that whomever's in a position to make a decision is that you talk to them about not just the final decision, but the process that you took to get there. Because then they can understand how you think, how you learn, how you process, and you're duplicating yourself. Now you don't have to be there to do it because they'll say, okay, well, this happened before and we talked about this and this is how we got to that end point. This is how we got to the resolution. So now let me go through that process again with this same or similar issue so that I can come to a solution that's pretty close to what my supervising, my lead attorney would have done if they were here. That is how you create freedom. If you do not have freedom in your firm because you're like, you know what, I would leave things to my team, but I would trust my team, but I would let them do this, but honey, that but is doing a whole lot of work. And your butt is at the firm. Your butt is there late at night. Your butt is there on the weekend. And you're complaining about it, but you're not actually doing anything about it. You are not putting the processes and the procedures in place to ensure that you can live a better life. You are breaking down. You are killing yourself. You are stressed out. You are stretched thin. And you don't have the procedures and the processes in place. And it's not, hear me, it is not that you have a staffing or a people problem. That's not the issue. That's not the issue you have. You have a control issue. And that control issue is rooted in nobody can do it the way I do it. And that will keep you solo dolo, which means that you will be answering your phones, responding to emails, drafting, doing client consults, doing the final order, attending the hearing, attending the trial, closing out the case, sending out the invoices, following up about invoices, doing the marketing. This will be you. If you feel that nobody else can do it as good as you, And let's say nobody can. Let's say you are the LeBron James of drafting briefs. That's your thing. Somebody else can draft that brief. They can get it pretty close to you. I'm pretty sure that they can get it close. So it's not a staffing issue, it's a control issue. Let the people skin that cat. At the end of the day, you want a certain solution. What does that solution look like? What does that result look like? And have you put that in writing to your team to make sure that they are empowered and have the freedom to make some mistakes, have the freedom to do it in the way that they do it as long as they get to that end result. And of course, you can tweak it and you're growing with them along the way. One of the things that you have to think about when you're bringing people into your firm is that they have typically some history, some legacy of how they've done things before. Whether this is their first position in a law firm or not, they as a human being process and they do things in their way, right? So you have to take that into account because there's going to be a learning curve to, hey, I understand this is how you do it. This is how I want this to end up because this is the way that the firm does it. And not just this is how it ends up, but let me show you what that process looks like to get us to point B. This is where we start. This is the thought process. This is the operational procedure to get us to point B. So now they're empowered to handle things operationally without you. And the third thing is the decisions. Have you given your team the latitude to make decisions without you? Can they charge certain expenses to the firm card without having to call you about it? Can they make decisions about invoices for clients to make sure that they don't have to call you about it? One of the stories that I think I've spoken about it before is a book called Give 'em a Pickle. And this was a restaurant owner, and there was such an issue because people would purchase their sandwiches and then they would charge them for the pickle, or they would ask for pickles, or they wouldn't give it to them. And the premise of the book is like, give them the pickle. You know, if they're coming in for this $10 cold cut sandwich, give them that 10-cent pickle. And that is the premise of it. So when you're thinking about your firm, you want your clients to be happy. So if your administrative staff, who you should trust, if they don't have the latitude, the bandwidth, the freedom to make certain decisions about, you know what, I'm sorry that this happened because life happens. We have human error. I'm sorry that this happened. Let me offer you a reduction in this. Let me go ahead and non-bill this for you to get that invoice handled. So can we get that paid today? So now that's the difference in them paying, you know, whatever invoice was outstanding and having a good rapport with your team and having a good client experience versus, oh, okay, well, let me talk to the attorney about that, and some time passed. And then they talk to you and some more time passed because now they have to get back on the phone with them. Now, 3 days later, they may have some type of resolution, but it's no telling how the client feels about that because they've had to wait all this time versus them calling with an issue, your team having the authority to make that decision because you've defined for them, if X, then Y. If this, then that. If this call, then this is what happens. If this type of email comes in, then this is what you do with it. I abhor emails. I do not want to check another email for the rest of my life, whether personally or professionally. I sure do not. So one of the first things I did when I got a secondary admin was I taught her how to triage my emails, check them, process them. And here is a little folder for me. This is for Alicia to review. Slide it here if you have a question about it. And so for me, I can see, okay, I'm seeing these types of emails, but I think that I can train her, show her, do a Loom video, whatever it is, on how to actually process this type of email, because this doesn't need my bar card. This doesn't need my input. This doesn't need my hands to be on it. And when I'm gone for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever it is, when I'm going on vacation, I don't want this email sitting here waiting for me to come back and you could have processed that and handled that and moved on. Let me show you how to do that. Let me make sure that you're successful. Let me empower you to make that decision. So again, when we're thinking about our three areas, it is the financial layer, it is the operational layer, and it is the decision layer. If either of those layers is weak or fragile, then you're going to feel that when you think about stepping away from the firm. Now, here is the cheat code, because that is why you're here. The cheat code, one of the cheat codes to this is to not immediately take a 30-day. If you've never done that before, that can definitely feel overwhelming. Think about a law firm owner. You're making $900,000 a year. You're making 1.5, 2, whatever. You are making the money. You have the revenue, but you can't take a week off without a cell phone because your team does not have the the latitude, the training to be able to handle each of those layers, then yeah, that's good revenue, but you're chained to your law firm. And that's not a good setup. So the cheat code is not, I'm going to take 30 days, let's figure it out. That will stress people out. They'll stress you out. You won't even be able to enjoy that vacation. Take a week. Do not answer your phone. Start with 1 week. I am going to take this week. You plan it out. You tell your team, you give them a month notice maybe. And you say, hey, at the end of next month, I'm taking the last week of the month off. Let's work from now until then to make sure that you have everything that you need to be successful. What this does for you and your team is it forces them to start thinking through, okay, I'm going to need an answer to this, or I don't understand how to do this, or I need a process or authority or some level of authority to make a decision about whatever this thing is. And then for you, you're going to think about that too, that, oh, this is what I do on a daily, but nobody else knows that I do it. Or this is something that only I have access to. I need to make sure that my team has access to it. And then once you take your week, then you come back and you make an assessment. What failed? What was shaky? What do you have questions about as my team that you wish you had known before I left? And you answer those questions, you fix it, you put those SOPs in place, you put the procedures in place, and then you take 2 weeks off. You say, okay, we're going to work through this for the next 30, 45 days, and then I'm going to take 2 weeks off. And I'm not going to answer my phone. I'm not going to be available by email. And then you work through that. And you say, okay, when you come back, you do an assessment again. What failed? What was wobbly? Wobble. What was wobbly? What actually survived? What was good? Because there's going to be some good. There's going to be times that your team is like, we were okay. We were able to figure a lot out that we didn't think that we could. One thing that happens is that if you do not give your team freedom to make decisions or freedom to do things kind of in their way with the same result, is they start to depend on your brain. And again, that's not a staff issue. That is a structural issue for your firm. So if you feel that they're asking you too many questions or they're always coming to you, that's because they either have a fear of being wrong because of, hey, I did it before and I did it wrong and I didn't like that result. I didn't like how you talked to me. I didn't like how I was treated. Or I do things all the time, but I know that you're going to fix it anyway. So why would I go the extra mile to figure it out myself? Because you're just going to fix it anyway. You're going to make sure that everything touches your hand and your desk anyway before it goes. So why would I stress myself out? I'm going to let you do that. So when you have the team and they are not making certain decisions, you have to make that assessment for yourself and even ask them. Hopefully they'll be honest because they for sure know it. So you ask them, okay, with this decision, why didn't you make this decision? What was your thought process when it came to this particular issue? And now you're able to talk those things out. And if you can get through a 2 weeks of not answering the phone, not checking emails, and things are going pretty well, and you've done your assessment, now you're ready for 30 days. Now you can say, hey, end of the year, I will see y'all next year because these are my 30 days that I'm going to take off and I am unavailable, but for these particular emergencies. If it comes to A, B, C, D, right? This is what you contact me for. This is the number you contact me on because I'm not going to have that work phone on. So you're going to need to call my personal cell phone and you're going to need to tell me about this, and this. If it's not in these areas, I have equipped you. I have trained you. I have taught you how to handle that so that I can go and enjoy my life, so that I can go and enjoy my family. Think about this. Pause right now. And I just want you to think about if you stepped away for 30 days from your firm, what would you do with 30 days away? And we're not planning for 30 days of unpaid vacation. You are on paid vacation as the owner. 30 blissful, peaceful days away that you can now think about, okay, when I come back to the firm, this is where I see the vision of the firm going. This is where I can, this is what I feel like we need to work on. These are some more trainings because it's inevitable as a firm owner. You're going to think about some of that during your vacation time, during your off time, but you're thinking about it from a point of clarity, from a position of power versus reactive. Like, oh, we need to fix this. We need to fix that. We need to, no. During your vacation, you have peace. You can go climb a mountain and sit at the top of that mountain and look at the beauty of God's hand Look at his handiwork, as the old folks say. Look at all the different greens that are in the trees and in the grass. That for me is just like, how many greens can there be? But just look at that beauty and breathe it in, and you have such a moment, and you should have a moment of gratitude that, oh my goodness, I get to practice law, which is what I've wanted to do. And I get to have my own firm. And I'm able to bring in other people into my firm to change their families' legacies. You're a paralegal, your admin, your associate attorney, you are impacting not just them, but their family's legacy from here until you can't even count, generations from now. Because we take for granted, because we're attorneys, oh, everyone knows an attorney, but they don't. So now I think about my admin and how she has her kiddos and they come to the office, and it is normal now for them to be around attorneys. That's a normal thing for them. Oh, yeah, my mom works in an attorney's office. I think about it for my own kids, and we go to court and are they meeting judges, or we're having different events, and being around judges and politicians and other attorneys, and just the exposure to this level of living, this profession, for me is like, wow, this is beautiful. And they get to see me as a firm owner, as a CEO. I am owning my own firm. And some days are good, some days are bad, but I am continuing, I'm moving forward. And God has given me favor and has graced me for this. And he's done the same for you. He has graced you for such a time as this. But I also want you to remember that what he has given you, he expects for you to grow. He does not expect for you to hide it. He does not expect for you to sit on your hands out of fear. He does not expect for you to look to the left or to the right. Well, they're doing it this way and they're doing it that way. Who cares? You are you for a reason. He handcrafted you the way that he did for a reason. You are necessary for the legal field to improve it and to expand it and to practice law in the way that only you can. So do not operate out of fear. When I'm presenting on the Attorney Cheat Code, it's to inspire and motivate you. Today's episode was a little less motivational and more architectural because it's necessary. God has also called us to operate in excellence. So when we are doing things, we're doing them as unto God, to make sure that when we are stepping out as ambassadors for the kingdom, that we are like, okay, we got our stuff together. God didn't call us to live in poverty. God didn't call us to live beneath. We are more than conquerors. We are above and not beneath. He has called us to live well. So step in your calling and live well. Make sure that for your firm, your operation, your finances, your decisions, make sure you have all of these things together so that you can continue to grow in your firm, so that you can continue to give other people opportunities. When you hire them, you're giving them opportunities to change their family's life, to change their family's legacy. So continue to do that because it's absolutely necessary. Okay, now this week, this is your homework. I want you to be honest with yourself. And if you did not pause the video earlier when I talked about what would you do with 30 days and what would 30 days look like for your firm, then I want you to be honest with yourself and think about that. Go through the 3 areas and think about, for a 30-day window, whatever that 30-day window would be for you, what would happen if you stepped away? Think about from the firm side, the financial, the operational, and the decision. What would happen? What do you think would fail? What would you think would fall? What would you think would survive? And then I want you to think about for yourself on a personal note, what would you do with 30 days? Because you don't want to just step out and be like, okay, well, what do I do now? Because you feel like you've wasted time. But what would you do with 30 days? And maybe just sitting in peace and quiet is the thing for you. Maybe working on that passion project is the thing for you. Maybe that's when you get rejuvenated so you can spend more time with your children. What would you do with 30 days? Operationally for the firm, and then also personally, what would you do with those 30 days? And I want to hear about it. I want you to send me a message, direct message, whatever it is. Let me know what you think you would do with 30 days. And tell me when you're going to take that 30 days. Maybe it'll overlap with mine and we can go hang out. Anyway, my name is Alicia Jones. I'm so honored that you spent this time with me today. Until the next episode, we're going to dive deeper, of course, into operating as a true CEO. But until then, check out this video right here above and let me know what you think about that too. Make sure to share this podcast with others, because we are a community. Again, we're not crabs in a barrel. We are building together. We are growing together. So I will see you in the next episode.